Now I go from the AFC North, I stay on the AFC side, and I look at the West. I'll start with the San Diego Chargers. The McCoy era has officially begun. No more A.J. Smith, thankfully for Charger fans. No more Norvell Turner. A new day, a new age, a new young offensive-minded head coach has taken over. In San Diego, this is a team, I think, that in a lot of ways needs to undergo a full rebuild. I don't know if they're quite positioned to do so yet, nor do they necessarily feel ready to do so, in part because they still have Philip Rivers at the helm. Rivers is the man for now, but what he could end up being is a bit of an encumbrance to this organization doing what they need to do, which is a total rebuild, because they feel like as long as they have Rivers, they have to do everything they can to try and contend right now, even if they don't really have the talent to necessitate or justify, that attitude. When you look at this team, they have injury-prone skill players, is the best way to put it. Guys like Ryan Matthews and Ronnie Brown and Antonio Gates and Demario Alexander's out for the year. A guy like an Eddie Royal, a guy like a Malcolm Floyd, a guy like a Vincent Brown. This is a Chargers team that does have talent on offense, but they've got to be able to stay healthy. They still, to me, have a shaky O-line, even with drafting Fluker in the first round and plugging him in at right tackle. This is still a team that is going to have to establish that they can protect Philip Rivers, that they can give him time, that they can open up holes in the running game, Losing Vasquez definitely didn't help that at all. I wonder, is Ryan Matthews actually going to step up this year and establish himself as a real deal starting NFL running back? Who's going to replace Demario Alexander as the number one wide receiver and number one option in the passing game for Philip Rivers? Is it going to be a guy like Vincent Brown? Is Eddie Royal going to have a bit of a resurgence this year? Is somebody like Malcolm Floyd going to establish himself as a big-time wide receiver? Is this offensive line going to be able to block anybody in the passing game to give Philip Rivers the time to throw and not have to force anything? Defensively, to me, this is kind of a middle-of-the-road unit. They have games where they look very good, and they have games where I think they're quite mediocre or bad. They drafted Monte Teo in the second round, who I thought, was a good, solid selection for the San Diego Chargers, period. You bring in Dwight Freeney in the offseason. I'm not sure how much of an impact that's really going to have, but I suppose they didn't pay him a ton of money. It doesn't really hurt. When they lose Melvin Ingram to an ACL tear, and they lose Sean Phillips in free agency, they had to bring in somebody, and they felt Dwight Freeney was the guy. They have a young, unproven secondary that I'm not really huge on, frankly. I think Weddle, at times, is a bit overrated as a safety. Their corners are not all that talented to me, anyways. I look at the Chargers right now, and I really believe that it's going to be them and the Raiders banging it out all year to be the worst team beyond question in the AFC West. I think the West has two, good or quality teams, and then the Raiders and the Chargers. The Chargers, look at Week 10 against Denver at home, Week 12 at Kansas City, games like that. If they can find a way to beat Denver once, beat Kansas City once, maybe the Chargers could prove me wrong and, actually be a bit of a contender in that division this year. But I doubt it. I think this is a 5 or 6 win football team. I think after 2013 you could see Philip Rivers be jettisoned, either cut or be traded, and the Chargers will go into the 2014 NFL Draft starting over and undergoing a complete and total rebuilding project, which I think is inevitable anyways.